Every day I've been giving it.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Jonathan Showwall, the upper school principal here. It's great to see you all. I was saying to Gabrielle and Alex, you have knocked the drug and alcohol talk out of the park in terms of how many of you have showed up. So that's encouraging, and it also means that there's interest, so that's really good. We also have a live stream going, and I think there's some people watching that. But we've had a great week with Gabrielle and Alex working with our students, and I'm not going to talk. I'm going to let them tell you about what they talked about, and then the things that your kids wanted to know about and how those discussions went. So before COVID, Gabrielle and Alex came every year and did this program, and it's been a long-standing thing that we've done here for school meetings. We've always found it to be really valuable. So we finally brought it back this year, and we're really happy with it. So,
thank you, sir. Right. Live stream can start, so all your heads are going to be on the YouTube channel. Oh, I don't have any to profess, so you feel like, oh, that's the live stream. On the table in front of you, one of the strategies we do with the students, your sons and daughters, is some blank index cards and some pens. If you have any question that you're a little too timid to ask in front of fellow parents or professionals, just write it on here and we will answer it. You can ask us something, maybe it's on your mind, maybe something that happened this week, or something maybe you heard, or maybe there's something going on, you're like, you know what, sexology system, maybe I can ask a question. Anonymously, I don't know your handwriting. When I pick them up at the end, I'm not going to go, really? Same with the students, I just tell them to put them back in the middle, and then towards the end of the presentation, I've allowed like a timer to go off, ding, 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 ding. I wrap up what I'm saying. Okay guys, let me go through the questions. Jonathan's going to read your students' questions later when we get to that section. We typed up all of them except for the last period today, didn't have time. So when you hear these questions that we're relaying to you, they're from your sons and daughters. Yes, you're going to see some of them at yanking on chain. We know that. That's kind of like how kids can be. We get it. You know, we're both parents, so we get that. But again, I do encourage you to ask any question you want by just like, hey, I'd like to get before. We want you to participate because the bottom line is everybody in the room, administrators, presenters, and parents, we're all here for your students. I always tell your sons, for instance, with love, I never ever want to see you guys again. I tell them. Why? Because if they see me again, it's not good. You don't want your kids seeing me in my health care professional capacity. I'm the guy that comes in the room. I have your test results. We've tested positive for name an STI. That's me. So I always remind the boys, hopefully I will never ever see you guys again. Hopefully. It has happened, but so just like we were saying, we're here for your sons and daughters. We are like experts in our field with your age population as well. So I only work with 13 to 24-year-olds. Looking around the room, a couple of you stood in that age group. Wow. Yes. So when it comes to adolescence, as you know, on the front lines with your own children, I have an 18-year-old daughter too, so get that noose around my neck. Yes, I understand. We are always making sure that everything is centric to health and them. Why? They're developing now, they're going through perils of society and fights with mom and dad and issues at the school. We get it, right? So we have to remind these kids that everything that they're experiencing is natural. I get so many questions about masturbation and stuff. We address it. Every question the kid asks us, we don't skip it. Never. I tell them nothing's off the table. Because they could have something that they've heard from a third party or seen online. I want to make sure that when they've left today or yesterday, whenever, they've gotten that right information. So we're always going to put everything back to safety and health. What are the boundaries between partners? We always talk about that. You may have a want and desire, but the other partner that you're involved with has something completely different, right? They're not aligning. So we want to make sure that it is. And again, sexual feelings are obviously coming up. I'm going to guess everybody, not sure if everybody has their child in the upper school right now, but for the most part, that is what we're going to. It's very, very natural to ask questions. It's very natural to be curious. We don't want them going to ChatGPT or some other third party. We'd rather them come to ask either experts in your community, in the school, whoever. So it's very important that you understand where we come from. So one of the activities I'd love to do is to fill this out. This is A for abstinence, so please participate. Just raise your hand and tell me your definition of abstinence. Just anybody. I'll pick on people. Go ahead, miss.
Not participating.
Not participating in?
No, not participating in whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Can someone be a little more specific on that? Go ahead, miss. And then
Oh, like wanting something but like staying away from it?
staying away from something you want, yes.
Not being sexually active.
Not being sexually active. Okay. Anything else? So when I play this lineup game of behaviors with the kids, they all freak out about this game. And one of the things I make sure I understand, they understand, abstinence is not doing anything risky. Okay? Have a patient of mine, for instance, thinks, well, I'm not doing these sexual activities, so I'm safe. No, there's many things, many different ways you can catch like bloodborne disease and things like that. So when we're teaching about abstinence, we're always stressing it's all risky behaviors, right? So then part of this other triangle would be barrier methods. How can you, as a young person, protect from someone else's bodily fluid? And there's different things out there, and we can show them what they are. All the boys are like, what is that? This is a female condom. And we show them what it's made of, and how you get them, and all those things. What to look for before you even open something. But abstinence and barrier methods all fail unless this is in play, and that is communication. Just like we said at the first slide. And you all know, talking to kids is different. Listen, I'll be honest, right now, my 18-year-old does not talk to me right now. That's how she wants to be, I'm just letting her do it. But without the communication between you and your child, or the school and your child, the first kind of strategies are not going to work. So what I'm stressing is that when we're teaching, we're trying to be as holistic as possible, trying to cover all the bases as possible, even though we only had like 75 minutes. We're trying to get in as much as we can. So if you ask us questions about, well, how come we didn't cover this topic? I'll be honest with you, substance abuse, it's such a massive issue, didn't really have time to talk too much about it.
Okay, so just like Alex stated, my name is Gabriella. You can call me Gabby. Alex is with University of Miami. I'm in private practice, but I've worked with Global, as Jonathan stated, for many, many, many years. And I primarily work with adults if they're coming to see me individually or as a couple, and I work with minors from 4th grade on up, usually in a legal capacity. Because not only am I a board-certified sex therapist, I am a sex offender treatment specialist. And when I introduce myself to the young ladies, I obviously tell them who I am. They call me Miss Gabby because my name is insanely long. And I tell them, I work with individuals with all of these types of concerns. So if they have literally any question, they truly can ask me, even the legal types of questions, since I've worked with many people that are currently in the legal system for various sexual offenses. I do also tell them, I will not answer a personal question, meaning what age should I start to engage in sexual activity, because it would not be helpful, because that answer has a lot of variables, meaning even though I look fabulously young, I tell them that I am of a very different generation. My country of origin, my family of origin, my religious influence, and the things that were happening in my life at that time all have influence on my decision. So at the end of the day, if I told you whatever age, for whatever reason, it's not going to apply to you. I want you all to be able to think of all of those variables in your personal life that's going to guide you towards whatever decision is going to be right for you. Not because I'm embarrassed to answer all day long, it just wouldn't make sense. And so when we're talking with your kids, we also want parents to know that love is not enough. Having the good, tough questions and answering the tough questions or figuring out what the answer is to questions that you may not know is going to be how you give your kids the straight facts. Open conversations without judgment, so work on your poker faces, go to Vegas if you need to, like get it down. Do not pressure kids to give you a specific answer of how they would make a decision on something, kind of like allow them space to kind of mull it over and think about it. Also understand that times are very different. I mean, back in the day when I skipped high school, I was going to do fun things. My child who's in high school, she's a sophomore, her idea of going to a party is literally taking charcuterie boards. I'm like, what kind of party are you going to? Are like, the Golden Girl's going to be there? Like, what? It's like, no, I'm the one tasked with the sweets one. So I'm like in the store going, what kind of party is this? But different generation. So understand that also different culture. I did not grow up in South Florida. My children were born in South Florida. Different culture from the Central Texas. I grew up mostly in Austin, Texas, even though it's a little weird, still different culture. And realize that talking about sex does not mean that we are giving them permission to do stuff. They are actually wanting actual information so that they can understand. Just like they want to understand the digestive system or how anything works in their body, it's basically the same thing. All right, dads. I love it when dads come to these meetings, especially for the dads that are here. If you can raise your hand and tell me if you're a girl dad. Even better. So, one of the things that I love when girl dads participate in this because you are vital in your young woman's life journey when it comes to sex and intimacy. Because at the end of the day, I want their first understanding about sex and intimacy or the view of sex and intimacy from a male's perception, thank you, English today has been challenging, to be from their dad, who loves them, who cares for them, that wants the best for them, not the person who's trying to get in their pants. So therefore, that is why I love it when dads participate. And I can understand it can be a little uncomfortable and a little bit embarrassing because it's like my daughter, things like that. My husband dies a little more inside each time our daughters will ask him questions at the dinner table. I get it. He pauses, he dies, and then he takes a deep breath, and then he answers it, and then he prays that there will not be a follow-up question. I've seen it for 15 years. Our oldest is 15. She has asked him all kinds of things that he really wishes that she would. But kudos to him, he answers it. So, talk to your daughters about sex. Talk to them about the male view of sex in their age group. Talk to them about manipulation as well. Fathers who are involved in talking about sex and sexuality with their daughters reduce the probability of early sexual activities for females and reduce unwanted pregnancies, reduce sexually transmitted infections or diseases. Fathers who are involved in those discussions with their daughters are going to have way more agency and feel like they have a lot more confidence in being like, what they're telling me, no, because dad had that conversation with me before, so yay, if I had treats, I would give them.
So these are the main topics that your sons and daughters really bug us about, like really go. Even if it's not like we're teaching it, they all gravitate to these topics. So we're going to put them on the board and then we'll quickly go through. So I'm going to ask everybody in the room, if you can kindly raise your hand if you know the answer. What is in legal terms, what is the age of consent for sex instead from? Wow, silence in the room. Interesting. Okay, that's good. If you don't know, we're going to teach you. So it is 16 years old. We're going to say you and a palm, right? So, if they, even I say you, like let's say one of your children is 16. If the partner's 15, is that legal or illegal? Illegal. I just said it was 16. Right? So you guys are good. So that's illegal. 16 and 16 in the eyes of the law, not what you want. I'm just saying in the eyes of the law. What's that meant? It's now legal. And it only changes at 16 if the person is over 24, based on the Romeo and Juliet law. Does anybody know? I thought Juliet was 14. Does anybody remember what age she was in the play? I think she was like a minor, right? I really think she was.
Definitely, both of them are minors, I just remember the age.
Yeah, I think there was a big car. I think she was like 14, he was 24, that's what I think. Anyway, so this is like the nickname we call the Romeo and Juliet law. That would still be illegal. So we have to discuss certain issues, certain circumstances, different variables. Again, when they're 18 and 18, I know you've told them, yeah, go live your life. Yes, now when they lock the door behind them, you're like, no, why are they going? I get it. Empty nesting must be good. So again, that is a hot topic that they really want to know about. Access to healthcare issues, whether it's, yeah, I've been doing something, I need to get tested, or is it just, I want to maybe inquire about stuff. I had a couple of the girls came by later and said, oh, I hear you am, I really want to do an internship there in healthcare, blah, blah, blah. Need my email, reach out. Pregnancy issues, very big. We have a major discussion with the boys, as an example, between birth control options and protection from STIs. How they think it's like the sex is great. Oral sex and anal sex as well. In my clinic, I have a lot of females who are still virgins but have diseases because they chose to do anal sex to please a partner rather than not. So that is an issue that a lot of the students will be asking questions. Family planning, I have taught this week. All the sons in the room at least now know what's going on during the menstrual cycle. They at least know that. They know about what a birth control pill does to the body. They know that. I couldn't get into everything. I did tell them there's an app out there, and maybe one day they'll be dating and they'll be aligned with their partner. These things can happen, right? It's like a strange phenomenon. Terminations, weirdly enough, this year I didn't get one question out. Not one. And it has been a hot topic in past times. I don't know about you. Okay. I didn't get one question this year about termination, which was, one thing. The morning after pill, reversed it. I probably got 40 questions about the morning after from guys. So, just to let you know. And an access to contraception without parental notification. Again, there are certain laws right now. I don't know if you know, but our Florida legislature is in session, and there's probably going to be some major upheavals when it comes to healthcare for young people, changing for the worse, I'm afraid to say. I don't know yet because I haven't had the chance to look at all the minutes, etc. Those are the main, there are a few topics. Stress, get that a lot. Okay, so, stressed out with all the things, the responsibilities that we have.
So, fun facts, as I like to tell young people. Nearly half, about 40% of those age 17 have ever had sex. So 40% of those 17 have ever had sex. 30% have had sexual intercourse during the previous 3 months, and of these, 46 did not use a condom, 14% did not use any method to prevent pregnancy, 19% had drunk alcohol or used drugs, although 50 to 24-year-olds represent only 1/4 of sexually active population, but they are the largest population that contribute to STDs, STIs. And that's since 2017. The numbers really haven't changed too much. So, having access to accurate information, having access to, and I stress this a lot with the young ladies, your first people that you should be talking to is your parents. Your parents should be the first person you access because whether they want you to have accurate information, and they can best look for the information that they do not know. I do not want you Googling it. I do not want you using AI. I don't want you using all of those things. So hopefully, I tell them if we haven't had good conversations, that we will try again and establish throughout that, we would love for these statistics to be just, low.
And then just looking at the last one, it says about 90% use like alcohol or something, have sex for the first time. When we talk about consent, that's one issue about age. There's also the whole thing about, are you incapacitated or not? So I explained to the young men about what situations can happen, especially I do work at the University of Miami, a lot in the athletic program. And the hard stories that girls and guys tell me there about consent. Because in the eyes of the law, there's one thing, obviously, right? So I was reminding the boys that you can't think, well, this is cool to do because someone's all over me, but if someone all over you is legally drunk or high as a kite, then guess what? You can't give consent in the eyes of the law. And they're looking at me like, yeah, I can show you the Florida statutes if you'd like to see them. So again, even though we talk about things like consent, that, ages we all think about, there's many other areas around consent. So every topic that we kind of showed you on the board can open up a can of worms, is what I'm trying to say. You ask one question about Plan B, and then suddenly the whole conversation is switched to about birth control options, and how come I can't get this, and why are you going to get a prescription now just to go get a 3-month condom, and it can go off. So we do try to, again, always center them to their safety. I don't know if you've got sons, if they've told you what happened this week, I can't keep stressing to them to be really careful and to cover this. It's one of the things that happened. So, the effectiveness of sex education. I actually hate the word sex education. People ask me, oh, you're a sex educator. I'm like, no, I don't teach anybody how to have sex. I don't have a manual that says this is what you do to take clothes off. This is what you do. No, I don't do that. I'm a health educator. I happen to focus on sexuality issues because of the work that I'm in. Diagnosing someone, handling a disease, things like that. So, when it does come to sex ed or health education, all I can stress is, I know we have our own values and our own morals, etc., etc. We have a lot of influences. But if you can always somehow just bring it back to comprehensive education, a comprehensive approach. I have to sometimes bite my tongue about certain things as an educator because it's factual. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. And that's, I know it's difficult as a parent. You want to tell your kids this and that because you've done it before and things, but you can just stick to a comprehensive approach that encompasses everything. I always talk about abstinence, but I can't talk about abstinence without talking about communication. It's just not going to work. Ask the kids what's the word of the day. I'm sure the sons have told them. What was the word of the day? Did they all tell you? It was talk. I play a game with them, they crack up. But it's all about utilizing a comprehensive approach when it comes to educating and assisting your young people going to the next step. So, research shows that comprehensive education is the way to go. For instance, even though I'm a proponent of abstinence, abstinence only does not work. Because it's only 1/3 of the puzzle. Alright, we're going to show you some of these things that are very good for your sons and daughters. Oops, my bad, I'm using the paper.
So we talk about, negotiate, which requires communication. We talk about setting limits, but that also requires them looking in themselves and identifying what are my limits based on me as an individual, my religious beliefs, my culture of my family, all of those things. What they can do in certain situations where, the person who I am interested in might have different limits than mine, and I really like this person, but those limits are less than my limits, how to go through those. Also, I stress with the young ladies about accessing condoms, meaning, and I tell this verbatim, I was like, all right, after we've talked about all of these methods to help protect your physical health, meaning your sexual health, if at the end of the day, the one thing if you take away would be this for each and every one of you. If I, for whatever reason, am too shy, too embarrassed, too worried that if I go inside of a pharmacy or if I go to a place where I can purchase condoms myself, I will die of embarrassment if someone walks in whom I know sees me, or I don't feel comfortable going online and buying on Amazon or Walmart Plus condoms to come to my house that I can open, then at baseline, I'm probably not ready to go down that road, because as a responsibility to myself and to my other person, I should be equally responsible in accessing these things. If I'm not equally responsible, I'm putting all of that responsibility on the other person, and the other person may not share the same views of how to keep ourselves safe. So we always want to pack our own stuff regardless, and if it's a person that takes this stuff seriously as well that we are with, we will be both showing up to the event with our own things. So I always tell them that at baseline, accessing is a two-way street. We both need to be responsible for accessing. Knowing and identifying your personal values, religion, family of origin, country of origin, all of those things. Having a safe and open resource to talk about sex, hopefully our parents, and relationship development, meaning, we reduce risk when we know the person whom we care about longer before going into more deeper emotional state, and then physical intimacy as well. Then, getting ready to talk. So, for y'all as parents, including my husband, who always is more, you may feel that talking about sex is like giving an okay. Remember, it's giving information, not necessarily permission. You may think it's too early, maybe too late. At the end of the day, start having the conversation. If it happens to be too early, but by high school, it is definitely not too early. You want to at least be talking about these things within 3 years prior to puberty. Early onset puberty for females is 9 years old. That's 4th grade. Having conversation about bodies and sexual development and all of those things before that. But it's not late as long as we start having the conversation. Find out what your teen's personal views are, and if sex is different than yours, that's when you use your game face very well, because they're still working that out in their mind. And your teen may experience not wanting to talk. They may feel talking implies interest, or that you're accusing them of something, and their personal views they might get judged or attacked. And at the end of the day, they might be embarrassed, or they may choose weird times to really talk about this stuff. Like my child, who's 15. I like to go to bed at 9:30. I want to be asleep by 9:30. She feels that all the things on earth need to be discussed at 11 p.m. So if that's the time, I take, I'm like, okay, that's what college is for. And we have the discussion. So meet them where they are, even if it's 11 p.m. and you're like, I just want to sleep. They'll be fine.
That's crazy. Again, I'm reminding everybody, we put some flashcards on the table. If you want to ask us a question, please do so. But I'd also wouldn't mind some anonymous questions, so see what is really on your mind. So, as of now, this is the Florida statute that applies. What it states is, a minor, like for instance a 16-year-old, male or female, can come into a clinic like mine and request services. Maybe I'd like to get tested, or I went and got tested and I need treatment, or we've tested and they need treatment. Same with picking up condoms, etc., etc. The law states that the young person that comes into our clinic is our patient. I can't divulge their information to anybody. So if Dad right here was to drop off his son, he calls or use my name. Hello, is Alex there? I'm coming to pick him up in the clinic. I can't confirm or deny Alex is here. Call him. Click. Dead. We don't discuss anything. We're extremely strict. I know a lot of parents disagree with this law, and that's okay. You can disagree with it. Go fight it. Go to the militia and fight it. But as of now, that's the law, and I adhere to the law. So if a 14-year-old comes in for services, I have to offer them the services. We all think about our kids are a certain way to do certain things. But what you don't maybe understand is so many other students may not have parents who are in their lives. You may have many students that are really struggling with mental health or substance abuse, or they're being abused and they're being terminated. There's a million things that go on. So to me, having worked in this for 22 years, I actually really support having this, that it is available for them. Because you may not realize it, that your 15-year-old is doing something that you disagree with, yes. But students, what I've noticed, they're very resilient. They really are. I'm sure sometimes they amaze you, like, wow, that is my kid, you know? It's just, they're very resilient. And no matter what life is throwing at them now, I'll be honest with you about you, but I'm glad I was a teenager back in the 80s and not now. Oh my God. I would hate to be a teenager. It's crazy. So that's the law that allows a minor to access healthcare services. Code, I think it's going on. When it comes to abortions, then there is other stuff required. It's really parental involvement. A judge can do it. You have to fight for that. So again, weirdly enough this year, I didn't get one question about terminations, etc. So again, in my clinic, because of the law, we can do options counseling. Someone has a pregnancy test, they're positive. We sit them down and go, these are your 5 options. Any questions? Would you like to speak to a mental health counselor now to really discuss more of that? Yeah, I do. And then we put them in touch with someone. Again, we don't do services at our clinic. We only offer options counseling. And you probably keep hearing me say that word, offer. We don't force anybody to do anything. I know the school had some parents or even some students that didn't want to attend the classes. That's fine. We're only offering it. We're not forcing it. So the laws, etc. Again, we can offer the information to the law or even access to those services. This is a big issue actually with the guys this year.
Yes, of course, I talked this with the ladies. So sexting, law in Florida, especially with social media and the TikToks and the DMing and slipping in people's DMs and all of this fun stuff is very, very important because we do not want anybody with a felony charge for the love of God as well. So a minor, anyone under the age of 18, does not matter what age, just under 18, minor, commits a crime of sexting when he or she knowingly uses a smartphone, tablet, computer, or other electronic device to send an image or video that depicts a minor that is nude or engaging in some sort of sexual conduct. A teen can also get in trouble for sexting if he or she receives and possesses a nude or sexually explicit image that was sent from another minor. However, if the teen, as like this is your, get, out of jail free card, is if that teen did not ask for the photo and they did not send it to anyone else, and if they took reasonable steps to report the image to a parent, to a legal guardian, to a school official, or a member of law enforcement, the minor is not guilty of sexting. So it's very important to educate your kids about, those types of images are no joke, even if it's your significant other, and for whatever reason they've already seen each other, scantily clad or whatnot. Cannot be taking and sending the images because I tell them what is the definition of that, and some of them did not know, and I was like, it's an image under the age of 18, it would be child pornography. That is a felony. Even if I was 16 and took my sexy selfie and sent it to my significant other that I've been with, 6 months or so, not only am I getting myself in a really big predicament, I've now also put my significant other in a really big predicament as well.
Yes, social media is brutal these days. I've actually had 2 instances. One was sextortion, where they just went on my Facebook account, grabbed pictures of my daughter, and then added male anatomy pictures and tried to get money out of me. I mean, I don't want to get TMI too much, but I'm like, that's not me, so post it, I don't care. I never heard from him again. So it's out there. It's just one of those things you've got to be very careful of. Please remind your students when they hit that button, send, it's no longer theirs. It's out there. And people can be very manipulative, very nasty, try to extort, sextort information, money out of people. Okay? So when it comes to sexuality, teenagers, they gotta know. I know sometimes as parents we don't want to talk about this, I don't want to address this issue. You have to somehow find it in you, bite your tongue, let them bug you at 11:30 at night because they're asking you a question. Because if you're not on top of it, they are going to stray, hopefully not, end up in my clinic. I would say most of the kids that I've diagnosed over the years just made a mistake, they trusted the wrong person, things like that. Life happens, right? We're not all perfect. So when it comes to sexuality with your teenagers, be the positive role model, bite your tongue, at least listen to them. You may not agree with it. Some of the things my daughter comes out with, well, not these things, but I'm like, I just listen to her and go, okay, and then I'll reverse it back to you. So when that happened, what did you think of that? So again, give them ownership though. Don't like give them passes because they did something wrong, you know, if you have your whatever your parenting starters, etc., etc. But also, don't shun them, don't shame them. That's what I want to make sure I stress. I'm sure if we did, like, I know, we all went out and we were all having a good time in the grove, drinking lots of wine right now. People are going to start telling me stories, and that's fine. But I'm sure everybody in this room has had incidences over the years that hopefully has made you a better person. So now that you're a parent, again, just be encompassing of them and their wishes and their questions. And you are, I know sometimes you don't notice it because they're teenagers, but you are the number one role model in their life. No matter what we say, no matter what the administrators do, it really falls on you. Your kids will never admit that to you. They will when they become parents, but not until then. So keep fighting the fight. It's just one of those things again. We want them to come to you rather than chat to you. We really do. Again, when we're talking about issues, it's always scientific based. So when I'm talking about, for instance, STI infections, it's all scientific based. Whatever question they ask me or whatever I'm teaching them how to do a test, what the test is looking for, what the treatment is, all scientific based. I may have my own opinion on a lot of things, and I will intersect and tell them that. I'll be like, blah, 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 blah. But in my opinion, and I go. So I rarely give my opinion unless it adds something or something has happened to me. Like dating on an app, I tried it 2 years ago and it was one of the worst experiences I ever had. So one of the stories that came out of that, I was trying to be pig butchered. Have you heard of pig butchering? You're going to hear it real soon. It's the hottest new wave of crime around the world. $75 billion industry. How it works is this. Gabby meets me online and we're on an app. We start chatting. Eventually what happens is she tries to gain my trust. She's manipulating me. It's getting closer. And then she starts with, hey, would you like to make some money from cryptocurrency? If I'm like enamored, like, okay, send me the information. What's it all about? And then they send me screenshots of what they've been doing and the money they've been making. And I dropped 10 grand and then they've gone, they've disappeared. I was fattened up as the pig and I was butchered by sending in my money. I'm sure many of you have heard over the past years about, the little old lady is giving their money to the Prince of Nigeria. Pig butchering is taking that a step forward and really making it a business entity and how to extort money from people. And they typically go after males rather than the pig butcher. And that almost happened to me a couple of years ago. So it's not just these younger people that are in these pitfalls of life and things like that. Grown man like myself. So again, when it comes to the information, we're always trying to be science-based facts rather than an opinion.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
At the very last point here,
Yeah.
you talk about phone or cyber sex with a partner.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I don't know exactly what cyber sex is, but I would assume that involves images, and we just talked about how
Against the law about
So
sending an image
to
out.
see that, so I just wanted to clarify.
Right. So again, it's if a person is, you and I are on a dating app and we're sending each other videos and images, that's trusting. Probably we don't know it's against the law, right? If you're minors, if you're adults, it's slightly different. But again, if people don't know what the laws are, they're going to do things that what? Dopamine affected, right? I'm getting a kick out of it, so that's why we're sending each other images.
So I get that you don't get sexually transmitted infections from cyber sex, but I'm just, in the conversations with the children, did
Yeah.
we talk about cyber sex as being an option for them? Because
So-
I'm hoping not.
No, I actually didn't.
Okay.
No, and I didn't have any questions
I
on
didn't,
that.
but if someone had asked me a question like you did, then I would address it of, it's an issue that, again, the law about sending stuff is one thing, right?
Because all the rest of these I get as being kind of safe
Right.
ways to engage sexually with your partner, except for the
Yes. Okay.
that concern.
That's a very, but again, I would hope that two people, like your kids, right, wouldn't do that because of the laws around there, is what I'm hoping. I think kids will find like the common ground of what they can work with when they're trying to form relationships with other partners, so these are some of the things obviously we are, trying to just discuss with them. I don't tell somebody, I mean, there is a risk factor, for instance, like, so having unprotected oral sex is less riskier than unprotected anal sex, as an example. So I'm going to tell them that because that is a fact. But I haven't got time to go into every single activity, what could be done, what's much more safer, unless they're asking me a question. Like if I showed you my content, for instance, like none of that's on. Okay. But again, we won't sidestep a question being asked, never.
So, personal values, social pressures, teenagers need to know is how to obviously resist peer pressure. That is, every teenager from the dawn of time has needed to learn that in some way, shape, or form. It is important. Resisting it is much easier when we truly identify what our limitations are, what our values are, and things like that. I also talk about with the girls, like, relationships and power differentials. Like if we are in a relationship with someone who happens to have more experience in sex, that different power differential, if you are not very clear with whatever your personal boundaries are, whether it's because of familial upbringing or religious views or whatever, doesn't matter. You get to be clear of what they are, because that is going to be your biggest defense against peer pressure, because you are very clear and convicted with your personal views. They get to be responsible for the choices that they make. That's why I reiterate with them as like, if you do not want to deal with any of this stuff, then abstinence is going to be your best choice. Because as a responsible person, if I'm choosing to go down this road, I need to be able to be comfortable to purchase these things. I need to be able to be able to know how to use these things. I need to be comfortable to be like, hey, we're not doing that right. We need to start over, even though it would be a drag and all that stuff. That's part of responsibility of the choices that they make. We talk about, porn and media, how they portray women, men, sexuality, and how that can be very not accurate, and how that can affect sexual health. Everyone has a right also to not be in a relationship. I'm like, we don't have to date anybody if we don't want to. We are not trolls. We do not live in a cave and do not have human contact, but we do not have to date people, and that is completely fine. If you're like, I just want to focus on my schoolwork and clubs, do that. It's completely
So
fine.
can I ask a question, because it's available. You mentioned pornography.
Yes.
I haven't seen anything like this up until now about facts and what the kids were talking about. And I was kind of surprised because I'm assuming that kids, the majority of them are looking at pornography. So you mentioned that, like, how does it
So I brought it up when they were asking questions about the mechanism of sex. So where does sex start, everybody in the room? Tell me, where does it start? Tell me, where does it start in your body? Where does sex start? It doesn't start in the private areas. Where does it start? But where specifically? Pituitary gland, thank you. So the pituitary gland is where sex starts, like the ignition of the car, right? So research and Gabby's work with people who are like addicted to porn, the pituitary gland is majorly affected because of the, what would I say, like the false imagery of pornography, for instance. So it came up with some of the questions about like the mechanism of sex. So that's where I brought up porn, in that people do things, occasionally, or occasionally have like drinking, right? You have a shot of tequila now, that's all good. If you're obviously drinking every day and you're driving home after work, drunk, that's a major problem. So it's the same with porn, is that if they're only getting their imagery from that, why are they ending up in her clinic at the age of 16? Because the pituitary gland is not being functioning properly, and then all the other mechanisms that help having a healthy sex life. So with pornography, I actually would think it would be beneficial to have a whole lesson on that, because again, as parents, we want to safeguard what our students are exposed to, but they are going to find it, right? So when I was talking about porn, I'm actually a filmmaker. I do health movies, and I was explaining to them that, I don't know, it's like when you watch something, I know you're going to get engrossed in it, but for me, it's hard to watch a movie or porn or whatever, because I'm seeing everything that you're not. I know the boom guy's there with the sound machine and all that. So for me, it's a very different perception of even watching a movie or watching porn. That's just my mindset now is so different. But for young men and women who are watching porn maybe for the first time and they're excited about it, we've got to somehow show them that's not the healthiest way to view sexuality. And as you know, it's a major billion-dollar industry out there. It's one of the things that, it's going to be a challenge for your kids growing up. So that is just, I would say that these social pressures and self-values that the kids impose on themselves, you as parents, you got to intervene with some of these things that we haven't got time to deal with. And I think pornography is one. There's a time and place kind of like for everything in a certain time of your life, but when young people, the minds are still developing, and that's really the only type of sexual information they're getting. That's why they're ending up, more and more younger people are ending up in a clinic because of porn. Yes, miss. And then yourself? Oh, we got it.
So on the topic of porn, I understand what you're saying about, like, that is the only imagery you have of sex. That's not good, and you're not going to have healthy relationships. So how do you combat that with positive images of sex? What's the antidote to porn?
Go ahead, ladies, first. I'll give you mine.
Sure. So when I talk to the girls, I talk to them first about how does porn affect the sexual health of a male and the sexual health of a female? And I go through all of I tell them one of the most common reasons a male is going to come to my office as an individual from the age of 18 on up is even though they are physically healthy from head to toe, I mean, they are a specimen of health, they are not able to get or maintain an erection for sexual intercourse, for procreation, or for intimacy with their loved one. Why? Because whether they started at 9 or 10 years old, middle school or high school, engaging in porn at a higher rate. I'm not saying if they watched it one time. I'm saying I watched it one time. And then a few hours later, I want to watch it again. And then I watch it again. And then I start, touching myself or masturbating to it. And now it's the go-to source for that type of not only information, but access to some type of sexual pleasure. Not only have I altered my neural pathways, but I've also classically conditioned myself to need that type of stimulus in order to get and maintain an erection. They show up in my office and all of them cry. All of them cry because number one, they always felt but watching porn is so normal. All the guys do it. I was like, I'm not saying that the curiosity and wanting to understand it is not normal. That is absolutely normal. But it's not designed for young people going through puberty that have to develop these abilities naturally. Once you're 25, if you want to, look at it to educate yourself on something, how does that work or whatnot, you're at an age where you'll be able to understand the things, you'll be able to decipher what is that's not real or whatnot. I also tell for females, for ladies, it also can affect their ability to be able to have comfortable sex, meaning if I'm watching porn, I'm also conditioning myself to think that this is how it works out, meaning it's not depicting, truly all the steps that are required for the female body to not only get aroused adequately, but in arousal, our pelvic floor relaxes, which makes intercourse not painful. If if I don't allow our bodies to relax, get comfortable, and see like, oh, there's the setting of communication, there's the setting of what we're going to do, and all those things, it can be very, very, very uncomfortable, if not painful, and that's going to affect our ability to have intercourse later on, because it will always be painful because we're afraid of the pain, and those are conditions such as vulvodynia, as well as other types of pelvic floor disorders that are anxiety-based, not physical-based. So I was like, we could talk all day about the porn industry, but for you all, young people, this is the takeaway. It's not designed for young people. To protect your long-term sexual, physical health, it's better to wait till you're much older if that is something that you want to look at and understand.
But it is designed for you. Where do you get positive images and information about sex as a young person if it's not porn? That's my question.
Okay, so number one, definitely should talk to parents. Go to the, library and look for like medical books if they're wanting to understand the human body. If they're wanting to understand, how sex works. Like, what do you do in order for sex to happen? Medical type based books, not sexy books, of course, for young people is the most appropriate. Definitely not, Grandpa's magazine from 1975? No, and things like that. There are books specifically for ages 7 on up that are almost look like comic books, but it talks about sex, sexual health, how does reproduction work, what are the circumstances in which a person goes into sex. That if you are interested in the authors of those books, I can give that information to Jonathan and send it out to y'all. But it's pictures, not pictures, like almost like cartoon drawings.
Yes, miss, I'm going to answer your question as well.
So when we were growing up, it was Playboy, it was all still pictures, right? And to access porn, it was like a really big deal. You would have to go to the video store and all this stuff. Now, there's no magazines, and it's all online. How do you know if they're looking at porn?
I guess you have to have some type of security set up and ask the IT guy here how you can set up like a monitoring thing.
You have all these numbers, you can ask them if they're watching.
Well, don't you have like a, how did you check the history of the browser on your computer?
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm saying go to your history of the browser and you can scroll down and see things like, isn't there ways you can block things on your computer? People can't access sites? I would guess there's got to be parental controls on things at your home. I would say so.
There's no hackers.
The hackers, they know how to get around it.
And as they get older, it's harder.
Yeah.
Upper school, and to combine this, I have an upper school, junior, and it seems like none of the boys want to date. Like a lot of, they're just like, oh, what's the point? It's irrational because we're gonna break up anyway. And the girls all want to date. And I think when they were younger, they were interested, but now it's like, yeah, I guess I'm interested in girls, but I've got all these other things going on. I have to think about college, I have to think about sports. So it's almost like, they're all talking, not all, I mean, obviously, there are girls that have boys that they date, but a lot of them are just like,
That's interesting.
not a thing. And I don't think they're busy. I don't know if they're watching that much, I don't hear a lot of porn discussion. So it's kind of like a different, it's almost a good problem to have based on what you're saying, but at the same time, you want some, them to find relationships interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question now and I'll still answer it. Go ahead. You had your hand up.
No, but it's a high school, so I don't know. But I know for middle school, there's things like bark, and bark, you don't have to spy, but sort of red flags, certain things.
Yeah, we used to use that,
but again, when they grow up, I don't know,
And I'll talk to the IT guys, maybe they got some ideas. So, one of the things I tried to do, like in my film repertoire movies I made, I can even show you before we leave. I made a comedy called Generically Hot Girls Do Education, making fun of myself. Instead of me teaching the class, it's 2X porn stars. And the kids love it because it's skirting on it, but it's really focusing on health education using imagery of for the clothing. 2 girls who were talking about why they got out of the industry for the bad things and they're teaching how to.
I think you're right. I think the school could use, not just focus on porn, but some of the, like, the imagery and sexuality and how to not focus.
Oh yeah, there's so much more to
Because
do.
as parents, it's really hard. Like, I
Of
don't
course.
even know what's out there, you know?
No, listen.
I'm not an expert in the porn industry.
My mom was a single mother with 2 boys. True story, she busted my 15-year-old brother watching pornography. You know what she did? I don't think I agree with it, but I remember it vividly. She made him sit on the sofa. She asked me to make him a cup of coffee. Okay, make him a cup of coffee. She goes, Alex, you need to leave. Okay, I'll go upstairs. She made him watch the porn film in front of him. My brother's never watched porn since. He'll tell me it's such a scarred image for him. So she got her way of him not watching pornography, but he had some other issues, like, you know, he's like divorced 3 times, and, you know, all this crap. So I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I think finding something that would work for your student, even if it's just to break the ice, like literally, you show them my film and then talk to them, ask them questions. It's called Generically Hot Girls Do Education. Even in the title, you kind of know what it's about, but it's PG, very lucky. Okay. So what can you do? Do what you can. That's what I'm going to say. These are a lot of the things that you can obviously use as strategies and skills. I have to admit, my biggest thing as a parent now, especially with a girl, is I back down and I bite my tongue on a lot of things. I pick my battles. Right? When she was younger, she was a dream, and then she turned 14, 15, and moving on from that. And again, be a great role model. Treat your sons and daughters the same. I still see it happening. Guys get away with much more than girls do. Girls seem to have a higher standard than the guys. Why? Right? Why? No, treat them as equals, right? You want them to go into the world and be functioning and be equal, and they're not going to get that from a lot of things in society. At least you can maybe start the process, especially when it comes to these very, very sensitive topics. Okay? So again, these are just some of the ways that you can talk to your sons and daughters. You need help? Get help from somebody. I don't know if it's either a medical person or someone you can reach out to in the field, whoever. You can't do it all on your own. Seriously, you can't. So lean on each other. If there's a PTA group going on, I don't know, things, whatever is there to help you. Get help. It's tough being a parent of a teenager these days. So try to get help from wherever you can. And then these are some of the local resources. I'm sorry that font's really small. I'm sorry. Is there any sense that you may expand that or not? Make it bigger or not? Okay, maybe take a picture and you can open it, right? But these are a lot of the local resources that you can maybe get some help from. So I do a lot of work in the correctional facilities and foster care. I have more requests from foster care to bring in 1 individual or 3 girls to get health education. They need it so badly. So we're like one of the resources, like a judge will court order them to come to our clinic and sit with the counselor for an hour. They might need testing or nothing, but it's court ordered, they've got to go get the health education. So I'm not saying call up a judge to get them court ordered to get the help. But wherever you feel you can get help from, or maybe you're really comfortable talking on 2 out of 3 topics, so there may be your partner does the other, I don't know, tag team, whatever it works. I don't know your kids, so you got to figure out what's going to work for them, and that's the place to start. You know your son and daughter, right? All right, what's going to work for her? What's going to work for him? Start there. That's the best place to start. How you think they're going to be receptive of that information coming from you? Oh, I put that on there. Phew. So, if you wanted to understand a little more about your sons and daughters, there's a few things out there. This one is called the Gene Keys, and one is called the Human Design. And it's very fascinating. I don't want to screw it up by explaining it. I'm not getting it right, but look into it. Something like the Gene Keys, and I think the Human Design. So I finally did my daughter's map on the Human Design. What it is, it's a way of looking at who you are and why you're here. It's very fascinating. So I finally did my daughters because I'm having problems. So I want to read all about this in relation to my daughter to see if it's going to help me reach back out to the community again, reconnect. So again, that's me. I'm like a health education expert, but I'm struggling with my own kids. So I'm reaching out to something that's so different to hopefully boost me in reconnecting. And that is our emails if you'd like to reach out to us with any questions after tonight, in the near future. I don't know, maybe there's something pops up and you need just some quick questions. Email me, hey Mr. Alex, thanks for last week, but my daughter blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, I'll write back to try contacting this agency. Have you tried this? I don't know, we'll just communicate, okay? We're here as a resource. We work in our community. Miami-Dade is our community. So I don't know if you know, when you look at STI rates and you list every single city in the country, who's number one? Yes, Miami's number one. But that's not what's disturbing Miami-Dade. Who's number two? LA?
New York City.
I'll give you a clue. I work in Miami-Dade and I live in number two. Broward, Fort Lauderdale.
Including HIV, they laid off for several years now, San Francisco.
So the worst place to be in a sense, for like STI infections, is South Florida, where we live and work and have friends and do our thing, the kids travel around.
Why is that? Why?
So there's a million reasons. Some of the reasons are, in this state, horrible leadership in Tallahassee. Horrible. Number two, education system. I'm not saying this school, but for the most part, not great. Just not great at it, right? Third issue, we are a transient state of people coming in and out all the time. So you'll get somebody that comes into Miami-Dade very temporarily, may infect some people and move on, and then they've got 2 more people, that person. Things like that, right? Sex trafficking. It's hard to quantify it, but we're always number 1 and 2 between Atlanta and Miami. So you keep adding all these variables. No wonder we are number 1. Broward's number 2. So that's part of the picture. I would say a big part of it in Florida is the education / healthcare system, accessing to things is a big problem. Because I see it every day. I work in corrections and you're going to laugh. They get better education in the correctional facility than they do in Miami-Dade County. I know because I'm there. They do. So these are things that all your students are like up against. There's so many things that you and me, we didn't have to deal with when we were parents, right? We didn't have to deal with it. Now it's tougher, not on the students, but also on you as parents, okay? Take a deep breath sometimes, pat yourself on the back. You're doing a great job, keep it up, right? You gotta keep going. You can't let up now. Now that your kids are in high school, you already know in a few years' time they'll be leaving the home, going into college or traveling the world or whatever they're doing. You can have less influence on them. So try to make the most of it now to lay that foundation for them so that when they do leave, they'll remember your words somehow, somewhere. And I know it does happen because I have a 30-year-old niece and I was like her dad, and I've seen that happen, so it gives me hope for my own kid because I've seen how bad Lauren was for a while, and then, you know, she's doing great now. Just became a mom very recently.
And the kids also have our emails, and I still get emails, believe it or not, from 2014 from former Gullivers that are like, Miss Gabby, I was a Gulliver student such and such year. I have a question. I'm like, how old are you now? And so I will still just answer their question, send the email, and then I delete the email. I do not keep the emails or anything like that. And I tell all of the gals, like, you ever have a question? Just email me. At the end of the day, I'm just going to answer it, and then I'm going to delete it. I don't file it away. I don't have like a stack, you know, it's like sinister Gulliver questions. Like, no, I delete it, I answer it. And so if for whatever reason they're like, I don't feel comfortable asking this question, more than welcome to answer the question.
So we're going to wrap up. Jonathan's going to read out some of your student questions to us, so you can just hear the type of questions they've been asking, and they don't hold back, which is fun.
We definitely don't, so I didn't write these. Okay. So these are, Alex, these are, I think, maybe your...
I think I put what grades they were
right.
somewhere in the email.
So, okay, these are the guys. Is it okay to use Plan B a lot? Does anything happen if you get pre-cum in a girl? What's the age of consent? Can you get an STI from your girlfriend if the condom bursts? What happens if you crack a girl on her period? Can you get a disease from fingering a girl? How tight are condoms supposed to be? How did you get into this line of work? Why are condoms so expensive? What is a genital wart? So those are the younger boys. There are, so these are 9th and 10th grade girls. Is over-the-counter the pill really any good? At what age do most girls have sex? Why do girls think about sex so much? Can you get an STI from oral sex? What does cum taste like? Why are sending nudes, even if yours, not okay? Can a vibrator pop your cherry? Do you bleed in sex? Does swallowing cum give a high chance of pregnancy? Can the morning after pill prevent having kids in the future? What if you're really not ready but don't want to lose the relationship? Do the guys get the same info? When can I see the doctor alone? How expensive is the morning after pill? 12th grade girls. Are there different condoms for circumcised or uncircumcised males? Juniors and seniors males. What is the age of consent in Florida? Is it true HIV came from monkeys? How many years can you get if you are guilty of criminal transmission? I'm not sure what that means. Wow, didn't know gimmicky condoms exist. Let's see. I think that's it.
Oh, I sent you an email today with the rest of the 12th grade girls.
Oh, got it. Okay, here we go. Are people really waiting to save sex in HW?
Are people really waiting to have sex in,
Save sex
high school? It's supposed to be an S, not a W.
Okay.
Didn't type it all.
Can you really get an STI from oral sex on a guy or only from a girl? What is a reasonable body count? How can you really tell if a person has an STD? How much are abortions? Do college clinics have free supplies? How effective is Plan B? Do flavored gummies for oral sex actually make it taste good? Do condoms easily slide off? My ex-boyfriend has HIV/AIDS, and I know it's been really hard for him. Do you have any advice I can give him? For reference, he's 17. Is it really that important for both people to provide the condoms?
So those are very explicit questions, and we can't sidestep because it's on their minds. We need to answer the questions in a factual way, making sure we listen to them and making sure that they understand it. And a lot of the questions then go into other questions.
So, one of the questions is like the way I've done it with my kids is I tell them too much, right? And I've had friends go
It's
like,
never too much, trust me.
you're promoting, you know? And I love what you said, it's education, it's not promoting. But, like if you were concerned about if you're telling them sort of age appropriate things, like where do you draw that line? Like how do you know? Because you just said start 2 years before puberty, right? So like what do you tell that child 2 years? Like how do you measure what is age appropriate, right? Because you know, we saw things that I realized that as much as open as we have been, I haven't talked to her about things that you had there. So like, how do you know what is appropriate at what age?
Yeah, so we go by, you know, like there's so many agencies out there that kind of guide you, the school system has guides like K-12, what's appropriate, things like that. Plus our own personal experience. Plus we send teaching stuff to the administration of the school just to check it, make sure everything seems good. You know, they're with the school kids every day. They know what's appropriate. So we have a check and balance system. I would say...
But for us...
Yes, for yourselves, it's never TMI. I'm going to tell you right now. Because half the time they're not listening to you. So if you give them 150 things to listen to, maybe you'll get 2 that they've registered, right? So it's never TMI. And I think just like we've talked about, there's so many different things out there for you to kind of do your research first to see what you think is much more appropriate for your son or daughter. Because again, we could say, well, every 14-year-old kind of needs to know this, but the development of 14-year-olds is like this, right? So find what you feel is comfortable for you to discuss and talk about strategy you want to use, okay? You've seen these funny adverts like, how do you talk to your kids about sex? And mom and dad are rapping and stuff, you know, it's like, you gotta do what you gotta do. You just have to. I've taught my daughter everything that I know. Everything. She asked me a question when she was 9 years old about where babies come from. And I sat her down and I explained it. She's like, I was holding back on some information. It was more about mom and dad's fluids and mixing. She's just getting the concept, and then we build on that. I've talked about her menstrual cycle, went shopping to get tampons, etc. So she's lucky in that sense. Maybe some other guys are not too comfortable doing it. That's okay. But again, who in your world can support you to do that? Right? I'm on my own in this country, but when I lived in England, I had so many people that could have helped me if I was a parent. So again, find your tribe. Who's going to help you sit down with your son and daughter? Sometimes it could be someone that they really connect with, and it's not you, and that's okay. If you've got, I don't know, their auntie, your younger sister or something like that, well, that's an example. If that's who your sons and daughters connect to, lean on them, right? I've left some resources here that you can check out as well. I mean, there's things out there. All I can say is, don't give up. I know it's tough being a parent of a teenager. Don't give up. And again, remind yourself, try not to do this all on your own, right? It's difficult being a parent today. It's so difficult. So lean on whoever you feel you can lean on to help you connect with your kids so that they live a healthy life and don't end up in my clinic. I keep telling the boys this all the time. With love, I hope I never see you again. Bye.
And also for like high school age kids, go with what Alex says, like there's really no TMI, because even if you're giving them a ton of information, what you're actually telling them is, there's no question you can't ask me. I'm going to give you the information. So even if you start to be like, I'm going to show you all these diagrams and things like that, it's like, you know, and they're like, Mom, I only asked you this. Ah, okay, so we covered it. But they know now, I can ask any freaking question, and they're going to tell me. So that's really, especially in high school, there is no such thing as TMI.
All right, well, thank you all for coming. Just give yourselves a round of applause.